Hello students, welcome back to your history class. From today we are going to start with thorough revision. So I request you all to pay attention to all the videos sincerely. Now, today we will start with chapter 3, like the third chapter we've done, which is actually chapter 4 in your textbooks. That is the Central Islamic Lands. Now, in this chapter, what all did we learn? We first started with the rise of Islam in Arabia. Okay, so in this, you all must we discussed what was the situation of Arabia before the rise of Islam. Okay, the in this we know that the Arabian Peninsula. Lies between Red Sea and the Persian Gulfs. Okay, the Arabs were the Semitic people, and they spoke Semitic language. They had divided themselves into so many tribes. Yes, and what were tribes? Tribes are basically societies organized on the basis of blood relations. Each tribe was led by a chief who was actually chosen on the basis of his family connections, but also for his courage, wisdom, and generosity. Each tribe had their own goddesses. They worshipped an idol, which is also called as a sanam, okay, in a shrine. And many tribes were nomadic. That was, they were Beduinis. All right. So now these tribes, they led a very nomadic life and they roamed from one place to another. This was all before the Islam came in. So the questions that can come is like, what was the condition of Arabia before the rise of Islam? So you talk about the Arab culture before Islam came. There was no government, and these tribes, they fought with one another. Okay, there was no peace and order. Arabs were also idol worshippers, and they believed in many gods. Okay, and then you speak about Kaaba and Mecca, where there is a big stone that was worshipped, and it was a big block of stone. Okay, and the Arabs believe that it has come from heaven. They believe that this stone has come from heaven. Okay, so then finally Mecca became a place of pilgrimage, and Kaaba was the only uniting factor for the Arabs now, because otherwise Arabs have different tribes, each tribes have their own gods. But Mecca and this pilgrimage, this Kaaba, it was the only uniting factor. So annual conventions were held in Mecca, in which to worship Kaaba, in which everyone came. There were 4 months in a year, and during these 4 months, they forgot all warfare and they came to worship the idol at Mecca. So this was the condition of Arabia before the rise of Islam. Okay. Then the next question that can be asked is about Muhammad Sahib and Islam. The life sketch of Muhammad, teachings of Muhammad. You should know these things. Okay, so in life sketch of Muhammad, you will speak about his early life. How did he become a prophet? His pilgrimage or his move from Hijrat to Medina. Okay, and finally his success and his death. These are the 5 things you will talk about if you are asked about Prophet Muhammad's life. Then they will ask you about, throw some light on the teachings of Muhammad. So in this you will talk about his principles, all the principles of Muhammad, all the principles of Islam. All right. Then the other thing that we learned in this chapter was the spread of Islam. How did Islam spread? What were its causes? Correct? So I'll do one thing. Let me make a mind map over here so that you all know which are the subtopics to study in this chapter. All right? All right. So the name of our topic chapter is the Central Islamic Lands. In this first, you should know the condition of Arabia before spread of Islam. All right. So in this, basically what you're going to be discussing is you'll talk about their faith, community, and politics. So the three things that we will talk about in this are you will talk about its faith, community, how did they live? They were nomadic people. They, you know, and finally the politics, that is, there were no. So we'll talk about these three things. Okay. Next, you will talk. We have learned about is Prophet Muhammad's life. So you should know about Muhammad, Muhammad Sahib, and Islam. In this, you should know about his early life. Then how did he become a prophet? So becoming a prophet. Then yeah, I think this is going to be easier for me. All right. How does he become a prophet? Then his hijrat, Medina, his journey. And then his success. Here will be hijrat, Medina. And finally, his success, and then his death. We'll speak about all these things. And the third main topic that we have is teachings of Muhammad. So we all will talk about all the principles of Islam. Okay, what are the main principles of Islam? You are going to talk about all of them. All right, fine. Next topic that we have is spread of Islam and its causes. So one will be spread of Islam. Next will be causes of the spread. Now, spread of Islam, in that you will basically write, how did it spread? Like under the first caliph, what happened? Okay, how did each of these caliphs help in spreading of Islam? Okay, this will be like how it spread. Now we're talking about the causes. That is what led to the spread of Islam. So in this, we will talk about the principle of equality, the principle of equality. Next was the worship of one and all, the worship of only one God. It really helped. Then the arms of Islam, that is, you have to provide to the poor. Okay. They really took care of the people who were Islam. So the Muslims were of the opinion that a soldier who dies fighting for Islam will go to heaven. So they fought bravely for this noble cause. From the countries which came under the dominance, the Muslims won over a large number of followers because of their influence and royal pressure. Then you will talk about it being a missionary religion. This was also a reason, another cause. Okay, then the simplicity of Muslims. And finally, the faith. Okay, so these were all the causes of. Okay. So the next topic then we have is now, how did Islam, contribution of Islam. So how has Islam contributed? So over here you will talk about what is the contribution of Islam to the world. Over here we will talk about world in general. So we will talk about contribution of Islam. In this, the first place you all will discuss is the political institutions. So we'll talk about the government, how did government come into being, how the central authority of government was vested in the caliphs, and these caliphs were the successors of Muhammad. How did the political institutions come into being? Okay, and how these political institutions worked, how they made roads, they restored some old roads also. So all the things that these political institutions did. Second contribution, we will look at the economic contribution. Now, in economic contribution, you will say that they were good agriculturalists. They had scientific way of, farming. They did crop rotation. They used fertilizers. So, how did they contribute economically? So, they even built canals for irrigation. Then you will speak about all the crops that they grew over here. Okay, and then you will even talk about the other industries that they were skilled in. So they even worked in all metals. Okay, textiles, glassware, pottery. They even knew how to dye, leather work. Okay, and they could also manufacture armor, steel, weapons, etc. So you'll talk about all the things that they did that helped in the economic contribution to the world. So you will say that the Arabs were commercial people, and their commerce was quite considerable. Okay, so while spreading Islam, they also brought close trade relations with different parts of the Muslim world. Okay, and you can say that they established trading posts along the west coast of India, uh, and they were great centers of trade, and they were visited by merchants of Europe and Asia. So this was the economic contribution. Next, we will look into the learning and literature. Now, they made very important contribution in the realm of learning and literature. We know this because of so many books that they've already written. They developed the Arabic language into a language of literature. Okay, the caliphs, they patronized scholars, and they did a lot for the promotion of learning and education. Okay, then you will talk about all the famous universities. Even Christians studied in their universities of Paris and Oxford. Okay, then University of Cairo, it has as many as 1200 students. There are, libraries were set up. Okay, so and then finally you will talk about the books, the literature. So you will talk about, this was learning. Literature will be Arabian Night, you'll talk about Ibn Rashid, we'll talk about the annals of the apostles and the kings, Gulistan, Bostan, Rubaiyat. You speak about all these things, okay? You have to know all these things. All right. Next, we look at the contribution towards science. Now, Arabs, they learned a lot from Egypt. Greece and India in the realms of science, but they made some original contribution in this field. Okay, for example, mathematics. The Arabs introduced the Arabic numerals that we use for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We do use Arab numerals still. We have the Arabic numeral system. Okay, including zero to Europe. They were easier to read and write than the Roman numerals. They had actually borrowed them from India. Algebra is practically their creation and they made it an exact science. They developed geometry and plane and spherical trigonometry. So in case you all don't like math, you all know whom you have to blame. Medicine. Uh, in the field of medicine, the Arabs made a big progress. They studied hygiene and physiology and they performed major operations and they treated insanity in a scientific way. Okay, so they knew how to use anesthesia. Okay, so all these were their scientific contributions, and in the science you will also include their contributions of physics, chemistry, geography. So in physics they developed the principle of pendulum. In chemistry they discovered alcohol, potash, nitrate of silver, nitric acid and sulfuric acid. And in geography they made the correct measurement of latitude and longitude and wrote descriptive geography. So the adventurous voyage from Ibn Battuta, uh, Ibn Battuta, Ibn Hakul, etc., they added the human knowledge. All this you have to write. So they have made a major contribution in the field of science. Huh? Finally, we'll talk about the art and architecture. So in the field of art, I'm so sorry. So in art, you will say that the Quran actually prohibits it does not allow the making of human figures. So the Muslim decoration, it consisted of complex design carried in wool and metal. The rich people decorated their homes with costly and colored rugs and curtains. And the Muslim artists, they showed their skills and workmanship in minor art like metalwork, decoration of lamps, illumination of manuscripts of Quran, etc., because they couldn't use human figures. And in architecture, you can say that the Arabs made use of round arcs, domes, pillars, minarets, and rail ornamentation, mosques of Cordova, Seville, all these. All right. So with this, this is the end of this chapter. Let's see how does the mind map look. This is all that you have to cover up in this chapter. Okay, these you can say are the subtopics of this chapter. Tomorrow I'm going to be doing notes that we have already discussed. I will go through them very quickly with you all. Okay, and this is the mind map of this chapter. You all should know all these things so that you all can answer and you all can, okay. These are the most important things that can come. Anything from inside this can come. All right. So with this, I will end today's class with you all. Stay home, stay safe, take care, and keep learning. Thank you.